Dear boomers, imagine waking up one day to find yourself featured on one of the biggest comedy YouTube channels in the world, sitting next to none other than Tim Dillon himself on the cover of his particular show that week. The reason this came about was because a few weeks ago I decided to look at YouTube to see if there was any content there about the boomers. I wondered if anybody else was talking about boomers or boomer bashing or anything, and I came upon Tim Dillon rather quickly. He has a lot to say about the boomers and how they have, or we have, made opportunities for young people very difficult because we own all the wealth in the world, in the country. We are uppermost in what Wall Street stocks. We own most of the stocks on Wall Street. We are, we've gotten what we have strived for, and then we've said to hell with everybody else. So I did a few YouTube videos about Tim Dillon is a boomer basher, or Tim Dillon is wrong about the boomers. And what had happened was it brought to my channel a bunch of his fans who were really poking fun at everything I did or how I looked, and I had vowed from the very beginning of doing anything that I would develop a thick skin and love everybody, as I have always loved my patients and love. I was a nurse for 40 years, and I have always loved everything about my patients. I didn't have any biases. I had no judgments, and in this regard, I had these kids, it seemed, who blamed the boomers for everything. And I can now, in retrospect, see that they were right, not because I believe that there are resources available for people to make money other than going to a disgusting job and punching time clocks and stuff like that. But these fans of Tim Dillon were saying that we have pulled the ladder up from and taken everything for ourselves. And when you think about it, we are, the top, have all the money in this country. And we're not sharing with anybody, except we're hoarding money, just like older people tend to hoard a lot of other things. We hoard the money, and we're not being generous with the money. I can't imagine how all of this came about, because when we were young, we were very, very rebellious, and I know I was very rebellious. So I never imagined that I would have been part of this concept of the baby boomers being stingy with all of their money, because I didn't have any money. Now, what it comes down to is another fan of Tim Dillon pointed out to me, so maybe I personally did not contribute to all of this crazy stuff that the boomers are accused of doing, but it's our legacy. It is the boomer legacy to be stingy and not give away our wealth. We, the children are not being given inheritances, and there's just a lot of wealth there that isn't being shared. So I can understand that. And he took this video that I did, and he kept saying things like, isn't she adorable? And I love her, which was very sweet and very generous. I never would have expected that. And I thought he was more like Rush Limbaugh. He was a right-wing, somewhat of a comedian back in the day, and he was very hateful, and he didn't give it grace to anybody. So the fact that Tim Dillon actually gave me some grace was completely different than Rush Limbaugh. And he also was generous in the way he depicted the whole situation. I mean, he picked apart the video, and that was what he was doing. But going forward, I think it's important to think, how do we take criticism in our lives? Do we hold on and say we were right, I was right, I'm right and you're wrong? Is that the best way to handle criticism? Or do we learn to learn lessons from what it is that we are being criticized for? Do we have open communication with people who don't agree with us? Do we have a unconditional loving attitude towards the people who are criticizing us? Or do we just shut them off? And are we afraid to get out into controversial topics? That's the other thing. Controversy is something that people fear, especially in today's world, for fear of being retaliated against. So, in this situation, I felt a very particular sense of gratitude for Tim Dillon. First of all, that he didn't throw me to the wolves, but most of all, because he was kind in the way he depicted the situation. And I will be the first to admit it was kind of a shitty video that I had done, and like I said, it doesn't really matter what it was, but he was kind, and he has a certain grace about the way he handles situations. So I'm very happy to have gone through that experience, because I will write, this is the final, you never know, but this is, before I move on, I just wanted to have this video up for you all. And I want, my main goal here in this channel is to unravel the ageism in our society, which is particularly unique to American society. I don't know exactly where all this happened, but we have a very contentious society. Everybody, especially these days, nobody really gets along, and everybody's afraid to talk about anything controversial. But that has to change, because there are so many things that we can work out together, and all across the generations, and I believe that we can do it. I am very happy to have had the guts to look at that video yesterday. And so when Tim Dillon says that he loves me, I have to say that I love him too. And I also apologize for putting him in a situation that is stereotypical. I thought he was a stereotypical Rush Limbaugh type, and I was wrong. He has a lot of depth to him, and he, as a person and his personality, he has an act that is doing well for him, and I wish him well. I do. I wish him well. So going forward, I want to be more gracious towards everybody. And I know that when I was feeling the controversy surrounding the topic of boomer bashing, and it can, when you tell other people, everybody laughs and it's a lot of fun. But in reality, it opens up avenues for discussion and hopefully for societal change, because there's no reason to have these separations and these labels in society. We are all one. We are, in fact, the whole idea that there's any separation between generations is ridiculous. We all need to work together. We all need to love one another. And I'm certainly hoping that, if nothing else, Tim Dillon and I have resolved this situation. And boomer bashing does exist, but it's not even something I feel like talking about anymore, because we've pulverized it into the ground. So, thank you, Tim Dillon, and I apologize for being kind of school marmish and judgmental towards you, and making assumptions about you. And I want everybody to subscribe to this channel so we can continue the discourse, and have a wonderful day. Love to all. Bye-bye.